Hi there, and welcome to Her Season of Strength, where women over 40 reclaim their bodies, their energy, and their voices without apologies. I'm Kim Duffy, registered dietitian, personal trainer, mom, and your biggest hype woman when it comes to aging like you mean it. This show isn't about chasing skinny or counting wrinkles. It's about building real strength, physical, emotional, and hormonal. Each week, I'll share straight-talking nutrition tips, sustainable fitness strategies, and conversations that help you feel powerful in your skin once again. Menopause isn't an ending, it's only the beginning. This is your season of strength. Hello. Welcome back to Her Season of Strength. And you can't believe it. It's already going to be, when this comes out, mid-June. I mean, we're already into summer here, and it's crazy. I am kind of a little bit antsy right now because tomorrow morning I'm getting on a plane and we're flying down to Huntsville, and I get to babysit my grandson for 4 days, and I can't even tell you how excited I am. My son is taking my daughter-in-law away for a nice 30th birthday weekend with friends, and so I get to just soak in that little man. He's 9 months and he's doing so many fun things. It's just so cool. Although I feel like I'm too far away and that I'm missing all these things. So it makes me a little sad. I want him just to slow down a little bit. But anyway, so this is probably going to be a little bit shorter episode. But hey, that's okay. You know, this is real life, right? We're all working around these busy schedules, especially in the summertime when we start having our vacations, and we're doing a little more travel, and we're having a few more barbecues and family events and get-togethers, and so it's all good, right? So I want you to picture this. It's 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night. You just get home from work, you're tired, your brain is done for the day, and you open the fridge, you're staring at it for a solid 30 seconds. Maybe you open it a second time, like something is magically gonna appear, some beautiful meal that someone made for you and left in there and you didn't realize it. And then you close it, you grab a granola bar, or you pour yourself a bowl of cereal, and you tell yourself you'll do better tomorrow, right? I'm sure this sounds familiar because I know it sounds familiar to me in my past person. And I also hear this frequently from my clients, women who are smart and motivated and genuinely trying to take care of themselves, and they're falling into this like exact trap every night after night. And here's what I want you to hear. This is not a willpower problem. This is not a motivation problem. It's just a setup. It's a system problem. When your kitchen's not set up to support you, you're going to default to whatever is easiest in the moment every single time, because that's just how our brains work, especially when we're exhausted. And I want to tell you the exhaustion piece is real, and it really matters. And I want to talk about that today too. So I wanted to dive in first, though, into what I call the foundation of everything. And it is the very first step in my SIMPLE method, my SIMPLE method to meal prep that I teach my clients. And that very first S stands for stocking your staples. I want to talk a little bit about why the way majority of women over 40 have their kitchen stocked is actually working against them and against kind of the hormonal control that we're always, the hormonal balance that we're looking for, ways to increase our energy and our goals. And then I want to walk you through exactly what we need to do to change that and how to make it stick. And here's what we're going to cover today. First of all, why your current kitchen setup might be making your hormonal symptoms worse. The 3 categories of staples that change everything in our pantry and freezer and fridge, how to actually turn those staples into an actual meal that tastes good when you have no plan and no energy, and the simple restocking habit that keeps the whole thing running on autopilot. So let's dive into it. So the average kitchen looks like this. And listen, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to kind of show you what is happening so we can fix it together. So the pantry might have some canned soups, maybe a box or 2 of pasta, a jar of pasta sauce, maybe some granola bars, a couple different cereals. The freezer might have some, frozen pizzas, maybe some frozen burritos, or those microwavable meals that you grabbed because they looked healthy and they were convenient. And the fridge might have some condiments, some leftovers from a few days, maybe some yogurt that you bought with good intentions, or some produce that is going bad. Any of that sound familiar? Here's the thing. None of those foods are the problem on their own. The problem is that when that is all that you have to work with, the meals that you end up pulling together are almost always going to be higher in carbs and lower in protein and fiber. And for women over 40, especially those of us in perimenopause or postmenopause, that combination does a number on our bodies, right? So when we're eating more carb heavy, and you've heard in my past episodes, I frequently am talking about blood sugars, but when we're eating more of that carb heavy, lower in protein meal, like cereal or a granola bar or popcorn or a plate of just pasta and sauce, we're going to promote that blood sugar spike. And what goes up must come down. So, an hour or two later, it crashes. And that crash can look like fatigue or a drop in your energy. It can look like brain fog or irritability or intense cravings for something sweet or starchy. So you eat more of that same thing to feel better. I always say it, that the sugar and the carbs can perpetuate themselves. Like you have a little bit and you want more, and then the cycle kind of repeats itself. So here's where it gets a little important. So because a lot of you are already dealing with the hot flashes or the fatigue or brain fog, mood swings, or the weight gain that comes with peri and postmenopause, I want you to understand those blood sugar spikes and crashes are really adding fuel to that fire. Those hormonal fluctuations, they're already affecting our insulin sensitivity. Our body is already more reactive to blood sugar swings than it was when we were, younger in our 20s and 30s. So when we consistently eat in a way that spikes and crashes our blood sugars, we're kind of intensifying those symptoms that we're trying desperately to manage. We can see that the hot flashes get worse. We can see that the poor energy levels get deeper. The brain fog gets thicker. And it can be more of a challenge to stop that weight gain that can come and that, that change in kind of how our body looks and feels because we have that increased fat storage. So this is not about eating perfectly. Please hear me say that over and over again. This is about understanding that your kitchen is either your greatest ally or it's going to work against you. And right now, for a lot of women, it's working against them. But this is a fixable problem. And this is actually exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about a kitchen that actually supports us and kind of how that looks. Let's break this down into 3 zones: our pantry, our freezer, and our fridge. Because when all 3 are working together, we can pull together like macro-balanced meals that keep us feeling full and satisfied in 15 minutes or less on any given night. No recipe, no plan, no mental energy required. And I want to say up front, it's not about having a Pinterest-worthy pantry. It doesn't need to look beautiful. It's just about having the right building blocks on hand so that the better for us choices become the easier choices. So let's start with that pantry because it's kind of our safety net. These are those foods with a long shelf life that we can always count on even when our fridge is running low. So here's a few things that I want you to have on hand. I want you to have some high protein pasta. Yes, it exists and it's a game changer. You get the comfort of pasta with significantly more protein and fiber than regular pasta. And there's some different kinds of these. Some of them are made with like beans or legumes, so you can get lentil pasta, or you can get chickpea pasta, or you can get black bean pasta, or you can get like whole wheat and higher protein pastas. So just read the labels. Look for those that have, more protein, I would say, than, shooting for at least 8 grams a serving. Fiber should be at least, I'd say 5 or 10 grams a serving. Okay? Try them out. If you've never tried them, they are a game changer. Rice, which is just such a nice versatile base for so many quick meals. Canned chicken and canned tuna. I know. Hear me out. These are fast, they're convenient, they're high quality proteins, and they require 0 prep time. And they last forever. And you know what? We can put them into things so that they're not necessarily tasting like canned chicken and canned tuna. Okay, another one's canned beans. Black beans, chickpeas, white beans, they are high in protein, high in fiber, and they are incredibly versatile, right? When we're trying to increase protein, we don't always necessarily have to jump to animal products or meats. We want to try to figure out ways that we can increase our plant foods because we know those are better for our guts, right? And then canned vegetables. Don't go, canned corn, canned diced tomatoes, canned green beans. These can be really helpful in a pinch. They're not glamorous, but they get the job done on a busy night. Notice the common thread here, protein and fiber at every turn, because that combination, protein plus fiber, is what's going to keep our blood sugars stable, our hunger hormones in check, and our energy consistent through that afternoon and evening. So now let's touch on our freezers. This is kind of our insurance policy because the freezer is what stands between us and a drive-through, on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when we don't have anything planned, or ordering in from DoorDash or Uber Eats. So here's what I want living in your fridge. Lean proteins, things like chicken breast, ground turkey, fish. These are kind of our MVPs. We keep those stocked, and we always have that foundation of a meal because we always build our meals around the protein. Frozen berries. They're just perfect for smoothies. We can put them on Greek yogurt bowls. We can put them in our oatmeal. They're just as nutritious as fresh, and they never go bad. I always have some fresh blueberries, maybe some fresh sweet cherries or raspberries, blackberries. And then next is frozen veggies, broccoli, mixed vegetables, frozen spinach, or you could have things like, frozen beans like edamame. That'd be frozen soy. I can't tell you how many times frozen veggies have saved dinner in my house. Just because it's like, I don't have any fresh in the fridge. Oh, okay. Well, I got these here, right? And I want to address something right now because I hear this all the time. Frozen produce is just as nutritious as fresh. In many cases, it can be actually more nutritious because it's frozen at peak ripeness, while fresh produce is frequently picked before it's fully ripe, and then it's transported for days. So please don't feel like you're cutting corners by keeping your freezer stocked with frozen veggies and berries. You're being smart, right? Not to mention, frequently they're going to be cheaper. Now let's talk a little bit about our refrigerator staples. These are kind of our grab and go building blocks, the things that make putting together that quick breakfast, a fast lunch, a snack that actually keeps us full, or even just a simple dinner, almost effortless, right? Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, they're both high in protein. They're incredibly versatile, and they work in sweet and savory applications. So if you haven't tried cottage cheese lately, I want you to give it another chance. It really has had a serious glow up, especially I have created so many awesome recipes where we might be whipping or incorporating cottage cheese into, and it really can add that nice creamy texture without adding all of the fat of like butter and cream, okay? Eggs and egg whites. One of the most important proteins on the planet. It's fast to cook, endlessly versatile, and they really can help to keep you satisfied for longer. And then lastly is fresh produce. Whatever you like and will actually use, that is the most important. You want to keep it up front and visible and accessible in your fridge so it doesn't get forgotten kind of at the back of that crisper drawer. And that's where having that system or that plan, maybe thinking ahead to what you're going to be making during the week so that you have incorporated in those things that you purchase and you're going to be more inclined to use them, right? So here's the big picture kind of takeaway from all these three zones. Protein is the anchor. Protein shows up in every single category because, for us women over 40, protein is the most important macronutrient we can prioritize. It protects our muscle mass, which we can see naturally decline as we age, especially if we get more sedentary and as our estrogen drops. It helps to stabilize blood sugar. It does not cause blood sugar spikes and falls. It just kind of stabilizes things and it slows digestion. It keeps us feeling full and satisfied, and it supports that hormonal balance that we're working so hard to maintain. So when our kitchen is stocked with protein at every turn, hitting our protein goals, it really stops feeling like that willpower battle, and it just becomes what we eat and how best to fuel our bodies because it's what is available, right? So now that you've got the right stuff in your kitchen, but here's the question. I know you're going to ask next. Kim, that's great, but I still don't know what to actually make. I'm standing in the kitchen at 6 o'clock and I'm staring at that chicken breast and that can of black beans and I have no idea what to do. I hear you. Having the right ingredients is step one, but you also need kind of that bridge, right? Between what's in your kitchen and what ends up on your plate. And I want to give you the simplest starting point. So here's one assignment this week. I want you to grab a piece of paper or your phone notes or whatever works for you, and write down the proteins that you actually like. Start with the proteins. Do you like chicken breast? Write it down. Do you like tuna fish? Write it down. Do you like ground turkey or eggs or salmon? Write down all the proteins that you genuinely enjoy eating, right? I can definitely give you a list of all the proteins that I love. And that's part of what I do in the Easy Prep Blueprint is give kind of some lists, and then you can go through and say, oh, I forgot about this one, or, oh, I really don't like this one. You cross them out, and then you create your own personal list. So this list is kind of the foundation of your personal meal rotation. Because once you know your proteins, you can start thinking about, what you could build around them using the staples that you have on hand. Chicken plus rice, plus frozen broccoli, plus your favorite sauce, ground turkey, and high-protein pasta, canned tomatoes, eggs, plus whatever veggies are in the fridge to make a yummy scramble. These are not recipes. These are just kind of frameworks. And frameworks are what you can actually execute at 6 o'clock at night when your brain is done for the day, right? Because it's just an easy go-to that you've already thought about, you've already figured out, and you've already made sure that you have what you need. Now, here's something that I do with my clients I absolutely love, and it's so simple. It almost feels too easy, and I call it the STAR system. So when you make a meal, you love it, you would make it again, your family doesn't complain, and it actually comes together easily, it gets a star. That means it goes on your permanent go-to list of, we like this one, we've tried it, we'll make it again. When you make something and it's not just, not for you, you cross it off. Never think about it again. No guilt, no but. It was healthy. If you're not going to eat it, it does not belong on your list. And over time, as this happens faster than you would think, that list becomes your personal playbook, right? It's a collection of meals that work for you, that, your people will eat, that you can make without thinking. And that is when mealtime stops feeling so stressful and starts feeling more manageable. I walk my clients through building that list in detail inside the Easy Prep Blueprint. So, I include that whole bank of specific meal ideas built around these exact staples. But the starting point, just kind of writing down your proteins, the ones that you like, you can start that today, right? Now, let's move on to the piece of this that nobody ever talks about, because here's the reality. Stocking your kitchen once is not that hard, right? Most of us have done it. We go to the store with great intentions. We load up on all the good stuff, and for a week or two, everything's great, right? And then life happens. The chicken breast runs out. The Greek yogurt is gone. The pantry is back to just pasta and granola bars, and we're right back to where we started. And keeping your kitchen stocked consistently is where many of us can fall apart. And it's not because, we're lazy, we're not committed. It's because restocking requires mental energy, and someone has to be in charge of it, right? You have to remember what you have, remember what you're running low on, build, that into your grocery list, and remember to actually put it on the list, and then remember to buy it. That's a lot of remembering, right? It's a lot of steps for something that we want to try to figure out how to make it simple. And here is why it matters even more for us. So, women in peri and postmenopause, we're already dealing with the elevated cognitive load, right? Brain fog is real. Decision fatigue is real. By the time we hit 6 o'clock in the evening, a lot of us had made hundreds of decisions already that day. And our mental bandwidth, it's kind of running on fumes. So the goal is to take as many decisions off of our plate as possible. And the restock habit does exactly that, right? Here's kind of what it looks like. You keep a grocery list template. Maybe you stick it on the side of your refrigerator. You post it somewhere visible. On the fridge works great. Every single time you use the last of something, you check it off right then. Not later, not when you're making grocery lists, but just right when you finish it. Yep, I used the last one, right? You're not trying to hold your entire pantry inventory in your head. You're not standing in the grocery store trying to mentally walk through your kitchen, trying to remember if you have Greek yogurt or if you use the last of your black beans. And you're not getting home and realizing, you forgot that one ingredient that you needed to make some dish that you were going to make. The list kind of helps you, does the remembering for you. And, this matters just, beyond just groceries. Every time that we can automate a decision, we can take it out of that mental queue and make it more of that physical habit, just like we do with, making better, healthier food choices, exercising more, going for walks, all of those health and wellness habits. We need to make it a habit. And the way we do that is by repetition. So trying to protect our energy for those things that really matter, our evenings, our relationships, our well-being. And that's what this is really about, right? So today we talked about something that sounds simple, but it's generally one of the most powerful things that you can do, for your health in this season of life, stocking our kitchen in a way that actually sets us up for success and supports us. So, just because you have granola bars and cereal and pasta and other kind of just carb heavy foods in your pantry, it doesn't say anything about you. It just kind of what happens when our environments are not set up to support you. And we think those quick and easy things are just kind of grab and go versus things that we can actually build a solid meal from. So, looking at your pantry, your freezer, your fridge, figuring out, what specific staples are going to help make more of those protein-forward, blood sugar-friendly meals, possibly on any night without any amount of time and energy, without much thought. So here's one thing I want you to take away. One stocked kitchen can't fix everything, right? But a consistently stocked kitchen with the right foods in the right places, it removes the biggest obstacle between you and that, that way that you want to feel. And I want you to be I want to be transparent with you here because I genuinely believe in this. Everything we talked about today is just the S, right? The very first step of my simple method. And there are 5 more steps in this framework, each one building on the last, that takes you from, your stocked kitchen all the way to complete sustainable system for making those macro balanced meals that actually fit in your life and help you to support your hormones so that you can feel the best you want to feel, right? So I've taken all 6 steps, I've built them into my self-paced program called the Easy Prep Blueprint. And it's designed specifically for women over 40 who are, done with the complicated meal plans, the all-day Sunday meal preps, the programs that were clearly not built for this season in life. And I've done that. I have some beautiful meal plans, right? And they are calorie and macro balanced. They have some really lovely recipes. But what I realized was that I needed that step before those meal plans. First, we need to create a simple process, a simple system for making meals and setting our kitchens up for the quick and easy. Because not everybody wants to make, 8 recipes a week. Some people are just like, no, I just want to have a plan, maybe write out what I'm going to have for meals, but then I'm going to just throw them together at the last minute. So I don't want them to take very long, right? So I put all these 6 steps into the Easy Prep Blueprint, and it's doable, it's practical, it works, and the doors are opening very soon. So this episode is going to be coming out on the 11th, and the priority list is still open, but only until the 15th. And if you are on the priority list for the Easy Prep Blueprint, you're going to get first access on June 16th only, and the lowest price that I'm going to offer this program ever, because this is the very first time I'm offering it. The price is going to go up after that very first day. So on June 17th, it will be more than what it is on. It's going to be the lowest on the 16th, right? And I have decided to add on the first 5 people who sign up for this brand new inaugural program is going to get a 60-minute one-on-one nutrition deep dive with me personally. So we'll look at your goals, your hormones, your lifestyle, and we will build the best plan for you. So the priority list closes on June 15th. So if today resonated with you, if you heard yourself in that picture I painted of the, 6 p.m. fridge stare, get on the list this week. The link is in the show notes. And thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate it. If this episode was helpful, I would love it if you would take 30 seconds and share it with one friend who might need to hear it. Maybe she's also in this season of life where things feel harder than they should. Maybe she is struggling with energy or with figuring out what to eat. Share this episode with her. You never know what someone might need to hear. And if you haven't already, please make sure you're following the podcast so you never miss an episode. And new episodes are going to drop every Thursday morning. We're always talking about the things that actually matter for women over 40. Nutrition and hormones, fitness, and building a life that feels strong from the inside out. And remember, this is about progress over perfection. We're in this for the long haul, and this is your season of strength. Have a great day.